The shotgun blast echoed through the pine-scented air like a thunderclap from hell, splintering bark inches from Caleb's boot as he stumbled backward into the underbrush. "You're dead to me, boy, dead and gone," his father's voice roared, raw with the kind of hate that had festered for years in the hollows of their Kentucky holler. In that split second, as the world narrowed to the barrel's black eye and the metallic tang of gunpowder, Caleb realized the wild wasn't just calling. It was his only salvation. Caleb Harlan had always known the Harlan men didn't bend. They broke the land, broke horses, broke backs if need be, but never their own spines under the weight of weakness. At 19, fresh out of high school in the shadow of the Appalachians, he'd swallowed that gospel like moonshine, bitter, burning, but it kept the cold out. His daddy, Ezekiel Harlan, was the high priest of it all, a widower rancher with calluses thick as Bible leather, as like chipped flint, and a temper that could scorch earth. Ezekiel's sermons weren't in church pews but around the supper table, where he'd recount how his own pa had whipped the fancy notions out of him young, leaving scars that mapped out manhood like constellations. Started small, the way these things do in places where secrets grow like kudzu. Caleb's first crush wasn't on Jenny from the diner or Sarah with her cheerleader legs. It was on Tommy Reeves, the lanky quarterback who smelled like fresh-cut grass and mischief after practice. They'd sneak smokes behind the bleachers, shoulders brushing accidental-like, and Caleb's heart would hammer like a spooked colt. He buried it deep, told himself it was just boyish fooling, but the dreams came anyway. Tangled sheets, Tommy's laugh low and warm against his neck. Guilt gnawed at him like a fox in the henhouse, but so did the ache. By summer's end, the fox got out. Caleb had waited too long after a late-night bonfire, the kind where beer flowed freer than sense. Tommy, buzzed and bold, had pulled him into the woods, lips crashing clumsy and desperate. It was fire and revelation, hands fumbling over denim, breaths mingling hot and forbidden. They didn't go all the way, hell, they barely knew what all the way meant, but it was enough. Enough to shatter the fragile dam Caleb had built. Word spread like wildfire in dry grass. Small towns have ears sharper than switchblades, and by dawn, whispers had reached Ezekiel. He didn't say a word at breakfast, just stared across the chipped formica table with eyes that could curdle milk. Caleb shoveled eggs into his mouth, throat tight as a noose, praying for the storm to pass. But Ezekiel wasn't one for prayers. That afternoon, as Caleb mucked out the stalls, his father appeared in the barn door, shotgun cradled like a lover. "You think you can shame this family?" Ezekiel's voice was gravel under boot heels. "Turn my blood into some abomination." The word hung heavy, laced with the preacher's fire from Sunday services, the same fire that damned queers to hellfire pits. Caleb dropped the pitchfork, heart slamming. "Daddy, it ain't." The first swing of the rifle but caught him across the jaw, stars exploding in his vision. He hit the hay-strewn floor tasting copper, the world tilting. Ezekiel loomed, face twisted in righteous fury. "Your mama's rollin' in her grave, boy. She begged me to raise you right, and this is how you repay. By lettin' some devil whisper in your ear." It wasn't just the beating, though the bruises bloomed purple and vicious, ribs cracking like dry twigs. It was the expulsion. Ezekiel dragged him to the truck at dusk, Caleb half-conscious, blood crusting his split lip. The drive was silent, winding up into the Smoky Mountains where the road gave way to gravel veins snaking toward nowhere. They stopped at a trailhead marked by a rusted sign, "Cumberland Gap Wilderness. Enter at your own risk." No rangers, No cell signal, just miles of feral green swallowing secrets whole. Survive out here if you're man enough, Ezekiel snarled, shoving Caleb out with a rucksack stuffed with a knife, flint, and 3 days jerky. Or don't. Either way, you're no son of mine. The truck's taillights vanished into the twilight, red eyes mocking him. Alone. Abandoned. The wild didn't care about Harlan pride or small-town sins. It hungered. Nights blurred into a fever dream of survival. Rain lashed like accusations, turning the forest floor to sucking mud. Caleb's hands blistered raw, stripping bark for shelter. His stomach a hollow drum echoing the howls of coyotes that sounded too much like his father's laugh. He rationed the jerky, speared trout with shaking hands in icy streams, whispering to the ghosts of his mama's lullabies to keep the dark at bay. Doubt was the real killer. Was this penance? Proof he was broken? Or just the brutal indifference of a world that chewed up the unwanted and spat out bones? On the 7th day, or was it the 10th? Delirium set in. He hallucinated Tommy's face in the dappled leaves, heard Ezekiel's voice in the wind. Weak. Filth. Stumbling through rhododendron thickets. Legs buckling like a fawn's. Caleb crested a ridge and spotted smoke curling from a chimney below. Cabin. Rough-hewn logs nestled in a clearing, with a man chopping wood out front. Broad shoulders under a faded plaid shirt, dark hair tied back, skin bronzed by sun and solitude. He looked up as Caleb crashed down the slope, axe pausing mid-swing. "Hey, easy there, stranger." The man's voice was steady as oak, laced with a drawl that wasn't Kentucky but close, maybe Tennessee. He dropped the axe, catching Caleb as he pitched forward, arms strong and sure. Close. Those eyes were hazel, flecked with gold like autumn leaves, and they held no judgment, only quiet concern. "Jesus, you're half-starved. Name's Nathan. Let's get you inside." Nathan Cole was 31, a former Marine who'd traded desert sands for mountain quiet after one too many tours left him hollowed out. He'd built the cabin with his own hands 5 years back, homesteading on leased federal land, living off solar panels, rainwater barrels, and the land's grudging generosity. No wife, no kids, just a dog named Scout, a stack of dog-eared paperbacks, and a past he kept buried like acorns for winter. He didn't pry as he fed Caleb stew thick with venison and wild onions, the warmth seeping into bones he'd forgotten could thaw. But Caleb cracked anyway, words tumbling out between spoonfuls. The kiss, the shotgun, the abandonment. Nathan listened, face unreadable, stirring the fire with a poker. When Caleb finished, voice hoarse, Nathan leaned back, exhaling slow. "Your old man's a fool, Caleb. World's big enough for all kinds of love. But surviving it, that's the real fight." In the weeks that followed, survival became shared. Nathan taught him the woods language, which mushrooms swelled bellies without killing, how to set snares for rabbit, the art of reading weather in cloud veins. Caleb's body mended, bruises fading to yellow ghosts, but the deeper wounds festered. Nightmares jolted him awake, Ezekiel's face morphing into leering demons. Nathan would find him on the porch, staring at stars that mocked his smallness, and sit beside him, shoulder brushing accidental-like at first, then deliberate. It was the touch that ignited. One evening, rain drumming the tin roof like impatient fingers, they shared a flask of Nathan's homemade applejack by the hearth. The firelight danced shadows across Nathan's jaw, stubble catching gold, and Caleb's gaze lingered too long. Nathan caught it, setting the flask down with a soft clink. You ain't alone in this, kid, he murmured, voice rough as corduroy. I know what it's like to hide, to hurt. Their lips met tentative, tasting of whiskey and want, Nathan's hand cupping Caleb's nape with a gentleness that undid him. It wasn't fumbling like with Tommy. It was deliberate, unhurried, two souls frayed by the world weaving back together. Clothes shed like old skins, bodies mapping each other in the fire's glow. Nathan's scars from shrapnel kisses, Caleb's fresh welts from betrayal. They moved slow, breaths sinking like heartbeats in the quiet, until release crashed over them, raw and redemptive. Love bloomed fierce in that isolation, a wildflower pushing through shale. Mornings tangled in quilts, Nathan's laugh rumbling as Caleb botched a bowline knot. Afternoons foraging, hands brushing over morels, eyes promising nights of whispered confessions. Nathan shared his own ghosts, a discharge under don't ask, don't tell, lovers lost to war or shame. We build our own family, he'd say, tracing Caleb's collarbone. Brick by goddamn brick, but the wild couldn't hold forever. Letters arrived via the occasional trail rider. Post from Caleb's sister, Lila, back in the holler. She wrote in looping script, begging him home. Mama's grave neglected, Ezekiel sinking into whiskey and lies, spinning tales that Caleb had run off with a girl in Memphis, shaming the family worse. He says you're dead, Cal. But I know better. Come back. Fix this. The words clawed at him. Nathan saw the storm brewing, the way Caleb paced like a caged wolf. You don't owe him shit, Nathan growled one night, pulling him close. But Caleb's eyes burned with a fire not even love could quench. I ain't going back for him. For me. For the truth he buried. They planned in whispers. Nathan would come too, his truck rumbling down from the hills like a beast unchained. Ezekiel's lies had poisoned the well-town whispers of the prodigal whoreson, church ladies clucking prayers. Caleb would unearth it all, shatter the facade. But as they packed, a shadow lingered, betrayal's echo, the shotgun's ghost. What if the wild had changed him too much? What if home spat him out again? The drive down was a descent into memory's maw, Kentucky hills unfolding like an old wound. Nathan's hand on Caleb's thigh steadied him, thumb tracing circles of anchor. They crested the ridge overlooking Harlan land at sunset, the ranch a squat sentinel against bruised skies. Ezekiel's truck sat rusted in the drive, porch light flickering like a dying pulse. Caleb's breath hitched. This ends tonight. The screen door slammed behind them like a judge's gavel, the sound ricocheting off the clapboard walls of the Harlan ranch house. Inside, the air hung thick with stale smoke and regret, the same scarred oak table dominating the kitchen where Ezekiel had doled out decrees over decades. He sat there now, hunched over a half-empty bottle of bourbon, his once-iron frame softened by years and liquid fire. Gray streaked his beard like frost on barbed wire, eyes bloodshot but sharpening as he looked up, shotgun within arm's reach just like old times. Caleb, the name croaked out, disbelief cracking the word. Ezekiel pushed to his feet, chair scraping like nails on a coffin lid, gaze flicking to Nathan with the wariness of a cornered dog. What in the hell is this? You drag some drifter here to parade your filth. Caleb's fists clenched at his sides, nails biting palms to keep the rage leashed. He'd rehearsed this 1,000 times in the cabin's quiet, words honed sharp as Nathan's hunting knife. But standing here, under the yellow bulb's merciless glare, the script blurred. Filth? That's rich comin', from the man who left his boy for dead in the mountains. Daddy. Like I was trash to be dumped. Ezekiel's face twisted, a flush crawling up his neck. You brought this on yourself, sneaking around with that Reeves boy, letting sin twist you up. I did what a father does, toughened you, sent you to face the devil eye to eye. He jabbed a finger at the ceiling, as if invoking some higher jury. Your mama would have wanted it. Pure Harlan blood don't mix with that. Nathan shifted beside Caleb, a low rumble building in his chest like distant thunder. Pure? You call beating a kid and abandoning him pure? I've seen monsters overseas, sir, faceless men with bombs. But you're just a bully hiding behind God and grudges. His voice was calm, edged steel, the Marine in him surfacing unbidden. Ezekiel's hand twitched toward the gun, but Caleb stepped forward, voice steady as bedrock. I ain't here to fight ghosts. I got proof. He slapped the stack of letters on the table. Lila's missives. But tucked inside were others. Faded postcards from hikers who'd found his makeshift camp. A ranger's report on the distressed youth matching his description. Even a blurry photo snapped by a trail cam of him staggering bloodied through the ferns. Nathan had helped dig them up. Favors called in from old service buddies with access to records. You told the town I ran off chasing skirts in Memphis. Told Lila I was shacked up with some floozy, sending money home now and then. Lies, all of it to save your pride. Caleb's eyes bored into his father's. Green fire meeting flint. But the truth? You shot at me. Left me to rot. And for what? 'Cause I love men the way you loved mama. Fierce. Without apology. The room pulsed with silence. Broken only by the tick of the wall clock. Each second a hammer strike. Ezekiel's mouth worked soundlessly, bourbon glass trembling in his grip. Then the dam broke, a sob, guttural and ugly, wrenching from his chest. He collapsed back into the chair, head in hands. I couldn't face it. The church, the neighbors, they'd call me failure. Raised a queer. Your mama, God rest her, she suspected something gentle in you. Said to love you fierce. But after she went, his voice trailed to whispers, the bottle glugging as he poured another shot, spilling amber on scarred wood. Caleb's resolve cracked, a fissure letting in the boy who'd once idolized this man. He sank into a chair opposite, the table a no-man's land between them. Nathan hung back by the door, watchful, his presence a silent bulwark. Mama loved fierce. Yeah. That's why I'm here, not to destroy you, but to bury the lies. Lila knows. The town's startin' to whisper real questions. We can fix this. Together. But Ezekiel's eyes, when they lifted, were storms unyielding. Fix? Boy, you think words mend what's broke? I see you now. With him, a sneer at Nathan, and it twists my gut. Harlan men don't bend. The old venom surged, masking fear like kudzu over ruins. He lurched up, snatching the shotgun. Get out. Both of you. Before I finish what I started. Nathan moved like lightning, hand clamping Ezekiel's wrist mid-raise. Easy, old man. This ain't the frontier. Muscles corded under his shirt, a testament to years hauling timber. But his grip was restraint, not rage. Ezekiel struggled, face purpling, but Caleb was there too, prying the weapon free. Clattered to the floor, harmless as a fallen branch. The front door banged open then, Lila bursting in like a gust off the ridge, 25, sharp-eyed, her overalls dusted from the garden. She'd been waiting, letter in hand, piecing the puzzle from Caleb's replies. "Daddy, what in God's name?" Her gaze swept the scene. Brothers reunited in tension. Nathan a stranger anchor, the gun on linoleum. She crossed to Caleb in 3 strides, enveloping him in a hug that smelled of earth and lavender soap. "I knew you weren't gone for good, Cal. But this," she pulled back, eyes blazing at Ezekiel. "You lied to me. To everyone. Said he was livin' high, sendin' postcards. But I found that ranger's log in the county office. You left him to die." Ezekiel deflated, slumping against the counter, the fight leaching out like air from a punctured tire. "Lila girl, it was for the family. Shame like that poisons everything." But his voice wavered, the patriarch's armor cracking. Lila's laugh was bitter, a shard of glass. "Family? We're Harlans, we're tougher than that poison. Cal's family. And this here's Nathan, from what he wrote. The man who saved him." She nodded at Nathan, who dipped his head, a ghost of a smile softening his features. The night unraveled in fits. Bourbon passed hand to hand, not for drowning but bridging. Stories spilled, Ezekiel's own youth, a forbidden kiss with a farmhand crushed under his pa's boot, buried so deep it echoed in his cruelty. Caleb listened, heart aching with the symmetry of pain, while Nathan's fingers laced with his under the table, a tether in the tumult. Lila mediated, her practicality a bomb, suggesting a town meeting to set records straight. "No more hidin'. We own it, or it owns us." Dawn crept in, painting the kitchen gold, when Ezekiel finally spoke the words Caleb hadn't dared hope for. "Stay. Both of you. We'll figure it." It wasn't absolution. Not yet, just a crack in the door. But cracks can widen to chasms. As they stepped onto the porch, breath fogging in the chill, Nathan pulled Caleb aside, voice low. "He's breakable, Cal. But so are we. You sure about this?" Caleb leaned into him, forehead to forehead, the wild's lessons humming in his veins. "Sure as the stars. Love ain't abandonment. It's fightin' back." Yet doubt seated, invisible as burdock. Word of their return spread fast, church bells tolling judgment by noon. Old Tommy Reeves, now married with a kid on the way, cornered Caleb at the general store, face ashen. "Heard you came back with company. Town's buzzin'." "My wife's a skin questions 'bout that night." Fear flickered in his eyes, the ghost of their shared secret clawing up. Caleb clapped his shoulder, forcing lightness. "Let 'em buzz. Truth's out. We were kids, Tommy. Ain't no shame in that." But shame lingered, a specter. That evening, as Nathan chopped wood in the side yard, axe bites rhythmic, sweat gleaming, Ezekiel watched from the barn, jaw tight. Caleb caught the look, a brew of resentment and something softer, unnameable. Dinner was strained, forks scraping plates, Lila chattering about the harvest to fill the void. Under the table, Nathan's boot nudged Caleb's. "A promise, we're solid." Sleep evaded Caleb that night, moon slicing through curtains like accusations. He slipped out to the porch swing, creaking chains a lullaby. Nathan joined him, blanket draped over shoulders, pulling Caleb into his side. "Penny for him? Just wonderin' if I dragged you into hell for nothin'." Caleb's voice muffled against flannel. Nathan tilted his chin up, kiss featherlight. "Hell's got nothin' on us. We're the wildfire. Remember, their bodies aligned, heat building slow, hands exploring familiar terrain. On that swing, under indifferent stars, they reclaimed each other. Moans swallowed by night, love a defiant hymn. Morning brought the storm's herald. A knock at dawn, Reverend Hayes on the stoop, Bible clutched like a shield. Ezekiel, the elders demand a word. This prodigal's return with his companion, its stirring unrest. His eyes slid to Caleb, pity laced with poison. Ezekiel, bleary from his own vigil, squared shoulders. Tell him to come here. Harlan land, don't bow to whispers. The confrontation brewed, pot set to boil over. Lila rallied kin, cousins, aunts who'd loved Caleb quiet-like, while Nathan scouted the property, rigging snares not for game but gossipers. Caleb walked the fences, mending wire as metaphor, each twist a step toward wholeness. But betrayal's blade is double-edged. Late afternoon, a truck rumbled up, dust clouding Tommy's brother-in-law, face twisted in beer-fueled righteousness. Queer Harlan's corruptin' the holler, he brandished a tire iron, eyes wild. Nathan intercepted, body blocking the porch, voice a low growl. Turn around, friend. Ain't welcome. The man swung wild, iron whistling air. Nathan dodged, countering with a hook that dropped him cold. Blood trickled from a split knuckle as sirens wailed distant. Lila's call to the sheriff, a neutral soul. In the aftermath, as the dust settled, Ezekiel emerged, face ashen. You fought for my boy. It was statement, not question. The first bridge beam laid. Nathan wiped his hand on jeans, meeting the old man's gaze. He's my world, sir. Worth every bruise. That night, over coffee black as sin, Ezekiel shared a story long entombed. His farmhand lover, lost to a mill accident, the grief twisted into hate. I became the monster I feared. Tears carved tracks in wrinkles, vulnerability a rare bloom. Caleb's heart swelled, forgiveness tentative as spring thaw. We all got monsters, Daddy. Question is, do we chain 'em or let 'em loose? The town meeting loomed like Judgment Day, set for Sunday after service in the Grange Hall. Whispers swelled, boycotts threatened, pews emptying. Lila printed flyers, truth over lies, the Harlan story, nailing them to oaks like Luther's theses. As the week waned, tension coiled tight. Nathan and Caleb stole moments in the hayloft, bodies urgent, love a shield against the fray. Whatever comes, Nathan breathed, spent and sated. We face it side by side. Caleb nodded, tracing the scar on Nathan's chest, a shrapnel kiss from Fallujah. Side by side, till the wild calls us home. But the wild had teeth, and home's jaws snapped shut. The Grange Hall smelled of lemon polish and lingering potluck pies, the kind with crusts flaky as old grudges. Folding chairs scraped linoleum under the weight of 50 souls. Farmers in seed caps, wives with pursed lips, kids fidgeting in the back like punctuation marks to the town's unspoken sentence. Reverend Hayes presided from a makeshift podium, Bible open to Proverbs, his voice a honed blade. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Eyes darted to the Harlans in the front row, Ezekiel rigid as a fence post, Lila notebook in hand, Caleb and Nathan shoulder to shoulder, hands clasped defiant under the armrest. Caleb's pulse thundered, a war drum in his ears. This was the arena, the Colosseum where lies had feasted for months. He'd rehearsed with Nathan in the cabin's mirror, words polished to cut deep without drawing undue blood. But now, under the fluorescent buzz, doubt slithered in. What if they bayed for more than truth? What if love itself was the lion? Hayes yielded the floor with a flourish, gesturing to Ezekiel like a defendant in the dock. Brother Harlan, the congregation seeks clarity. Rumors swirl like chaff in the wind. Your son's return, his associations. Speak plain, for the Lord's sake. Ezekiel rose slow, knuckles white on chair back. The man who'd once commanded herds now herded by stares. He cleared his throat, voice gravelly from disuse. Ain't rumors if they're rooted in my shame. Gasps rippled, chairs creaking as bodies leaned forward. I cast my boy out, shot at him, left him in the wild like carrion. 'Cause he loves different. Thought it'd purge the sin, make him normal. The word hung, sour as spoiled milk. But it near killed him. And me, too. In the quiet after, murmurs swelled, a tide of shock and schadenfreude. Mrs. Abernathy, the baker with hands like risen dough, clutched her pearls. Ezekiel, you abandoned kin? For that, he admitted, chin lifting. And I'd carry that weight to judgment if Caleb here hadn't dragged me kickin' to see sense. He ain't filth, he's Harlan through and through. Stronger'n me, for fasten what I ran from. Caleb stood then, Nathan's squeeze on his hand a lightning rod for courage. Daddy's right. I got lost in those woods, half dead from hunger and hurt. But I found my way cause of this man beside me. He pulled Nathan up, their joined hands a banner. Nathan Cole saved me body and soul. Taught me love ain't weakness. It's the grit that keeps you going when the world's boot tries to grind you down. The hall erupted, claps from Lila's allies, hisses from the hardliners. Tommy Reeves slunk in late, hat in hands, face a mask of regret. Hayes banged his Bible for order. Blasphemy, Leviticus clear, man shall not lie with, save it. Reverend, Lila shot up, firebrand in overalls. Bible's got love, to David and Jonathan, closer than brothers. You gonna cherry-pick scripture to hate on family? Her words landed like punches, drawing nods from the younger crowd, the ones scrolling TikToks of pride parades in secret. But the tide turned ugly when Buck Whitaker, Ezekiel's old hunting buddy, lumbered to his feet, face ruddy as ham. This queer business'll ruin us. Tourists''ll laugh. Farms'll fold. Ezekiel, you gone soft lettin' this abomination pollute our blood. He jabbed at Caleb, spittle flying. I seen you too, cozy in the truck. Disgustin'. Nathan's jaw clenched, but Caleb stepped forward, voice steel-wrapped silk. Pollute, Buck? You got 3 daughters and a wife who cries herself sick, 'cause you stray to the Roadhouse girls. Who's the real abomination here? Gasps crescendoed. Tommy's wife flushed crimson, averting eyes. Buck lunged, chair toppling, fists cocked. Chaos bloomed, shouts, shoves, Lila yelling for the sheriff. Nathan body blocked, taking a wild haymaker to the ribs that grunted air from him. Caleb tackled Buck, rolling across the floor in a tangle of limbs and curses, the letters scattering like confetti accusations. Enough! Ezekiel's roar cut through, wrenching Buck off by the collar, old muscles remembering war games. You touch my boy again, and bloodkin or not, you're done in this holler. Sheriff Tate arrived, badge glinting, dispersing the melee with barked orders. The hall emptied in drips and drabs. some with heads high in solidarity, others slinking like whipped curs. Hayes cornered Ezekiel in the vestibule, voice venomous. "You've damned us all, Harlan." The Churchill fracture. Ezekiel met his gaze, unbowed. "Then let it. Salvation ain't in stones and steeples. It's in truth." Outside, under a sky bruising purple, the four of them, Caleb, Nathan, Lila, Ezekiel, piled into the truck. Adrenaline a live wire. Lila hooped from the back, punching Caleb's shoulder. "You were magnificent, little brother." Buck's ego deflated faster in a punctured hog bladder. Nathan winced, probing his ribs, but grinned through it. "Worth the bruise. Felt good. Standin' with you." Caleb leaned over the console, kissing him fierce, tasting salt and victory. "Always with me." Home was a haven of sorts, porch light a beacon. But victory's afterglow faded fast. That night, as thunder grumbled distant, Ezekiel pulled Caleb aside in the kitchen, flask passed like a peace pipe. "Proud of you today, son. But there's more rot to root out." He slid a yellowed envelope across the table, letters from Caleb's mama, hidden in the attic. "She wrote these after you were born. Knew you were special. Begged me not to break you." Caleb's fingers trembled unfolding them. Ink faded but words vivid. "Our boy's got a gentle heart, Zeke. Like wildflowers pushin' through concrete. Love him for it, not despite." Tears blurred the page, a sob escaping. "Why hide this?" "Fear," Ezekiel admitted, voice cracking. "Same fear that made me a monster. But no more." Sleep came fitful, dreams weaving Mama's voice with Nathan's laugh. Morning brought a fragile peace. Breakfast communal, Ezekiel even grunting approval at Nathan's coffee brew. "Ain't half bad, soldier boy." But the holler's underbelly stirred. Notes appeared, tacked to barn doors, scrawled on windshields, "Faggots go home. God sees." Livestock vanished, fences cut, petty sabotage from shadows. Lila traced one to the Whitaker clan, confrontation brewing at the feed store. Caleb and Nathan rode out together, truck bouncing over rutted roads. Tension simmered, unspoken. "You regret this?" Caleb asked, eyes on the dashboard. Nathan's hand found his knee, squeeze firm. "Regret leavin' the wild? Never. But this fight is yours, Cal. I'm just the backup." Their lips met at a stop, hungry and affirming, the road forgotten. Back at the store, words flew hot, Buck's kin denying, then admitting under Lila's barrage. Fists clenched but stayed furled. Progress, however grudging. Evening found them by the creek, fishing poles idle, beers sweating in the heat. Nathan reeled in a base, triumphant grin boyish. "See? Even the fish know we're unstoppable." Caleb laughed, pulling him down to the bank. Bodies entwining in the shallows, water cool against fevered skin, kisses tasting of river and release. Love here was elemental, washing clean the day's grit. Yet betrayal's whisper grew. Tommy cornered Caleb midweek, voice urgent in the diner lot. "Cal, listen, my old man's in with Hayes. Plottin' to run you out, sayin' you're cursed property. Ezekiel's land. They want it foreclosed. Claim he's unstable." Caleb's blood iced. "Unstable? After confessin'?" Tommy nodded, shamefaced. "They twist it. Use your against him. I'm sorry, man. For everything. The pieces clicked. Not just hate, but greed. The Harlan's acreage bordered prime development, whispers of a resort, outsiders sniffing profit. Ezekiel's instability was the lever. Confronting him that night, over maps spread on the table, Ezekiel's face darkened. Bastards. Been fightin' that snake haze for years, church land grabs. Now they weaponize my sins. Lila paced, schemes sparking. We go public bigger, papers, online. Show the world Harlan grit. Nathan nodded. Strategic. And I got contacts, vets networks, pride groups. Amplify it. The plan coalesced. A rally. Stories shared. Lawyers looped in. But climax loomed. Venomous. Friday Eve. Firebombs shattered the barn's peace. Flames licking hay. Screams shattering night. Nathan dragged Ezekiel clear. Caleb hauling tools. Lila dialing frantic. The structure gutted. Acrid smoke a funeral pyre. Sheriff's investigation pointed fingers. Whitaker prints on a can. Arrests followed. But damage etched deep, horses lost. Livelihood charred. In the rubble's glow, Ezekiel broke, sobbing into Caleb's shoulder. My fault. All of it. Caleb held him, fierce. Ours to rebuild. Family don't burn easy. Nathan's arms encircled them both, a trinity forged in fire. Love, in that moment, was the unyielding spark. Yet the inferno raged on, hearts tested to ash. Ash sifted through Dawn's fingers like gray snow, blanketing the Harlan ranch in morning veil. The barn's skeleton smoldered, twisted beams clawing skyward in accusation, the acrid bite of char clinging to clothes and throats. Caleb stood amid the wreckage, boots crunching cinders, a singed photo of his mama clutched in numb fingers, her smile defiant, salvaged from the office wall. Nathan worked silent beside him, sifting for salvageable tools, his bruised ribs taped but ignored, face set in marine resolve. We'll rebuild stronger, he muttered, more vow than comfort. Ezekiel wandered the perimeter, shotgun slung over shoulder, not for threat, but talisman, eyes hollow as the gutted space. Fools think fire erases history, he growled to no one, kicking a warped plank. Lila, ever the engine, coordinated hauls, neighbors trickling in, some with casseroles and averted eyes, others with hammers and quiet apologies. The rally plan accelerated. Saturday now. No time for polish. Flyers multiplied. Social media buzzing with Harlan truth. Distant allies pledging funds. Voices. But grief coiled tight. A serpent in the gut. That afternoon, as crews cleared debris, a truck growled up, Reverend Hayes, impeccably pressed, Bible under arm like a concealed weapon. He bypassed the workers, zeroing on Ezekiel by the corral. Tragic. This, he intoned, voice syrup over shards. The Lord's wrath, perhaps, for unrepentant sin. Ezekiel whirled, face thunder. Wrath? This you're doin'? Hayes, whisperin' to Whitakers, stirrin' the pot for my acres. Hayes's smile was serpent smooth. I counsel salvation, brother. Your boys. Lifestyle invites darkness. And the church needs expansion, souls to save, land to hallow. Sell while you can. Foreclosures loom. The admission hung. Naked greed bared. Caleb, overhearing, stormed over. Nathan a shadow at his flank. You torched our home for real estate? Preach love, but peddle lies and firebombs. Hayes recoiled. feigning piety. Calumny, I serve the flock. Your deviance divides us. His gaze raked Nathan, disdain curling lip. And you, outsider, profiting on our ruin. Nathan stepped forward, voice low thunder. Prophet, I walked away from wars for peace, Reverend. But men like you wage holy wars on the vulnerable. Step off Harlan land, for I forget my manners. Hayes retreated, sputtering verses, but the seed was sown. Confrontation at the rally, public excoriation. Lila captured it on her phone. Viral fodder. Evening brought fragile solace. They gathered on the porch. Takeout pizza incongruous amid soot. Beers cracked to toast resilience. Ezekiel raised his bottle, eyes glistening. To kin, blood, and chosen, the clink echoed, a fragile chime. Nathan's arm draped Caleb's shoulders, thumb tracing collarbone, private anchor. Later, in the guest room's narrow bed, they shed the day's grime, showers steaming, bodies colliding wet and urgent. Nathan's mouth trailed fire down Caleb's spine, hands gripping hips as if to ground them both. You're my north, Cal, he whispered, entering slow, deliberate, their rhythms sinking to a litany of gasps and I love yous. Release shattered them, piecing back fiercer. Sleep stole in, but dawn demanded action. The rally swelled beyond the grange. Pasture cleared, hay bales for seats, a makeshift stage from sawhorses. Banners fluttered. Love wins in the holler, truth over torches. Reporters arrived, notepads itching Lexington Herald, even a Nashville blogger with a rainbow pin. Lila emceed, voice amplified through a borrowed mic. Introducing speakers, a cousin outing his own hidden life, a Whitaker niece decrying family hate, Tommy himself, voice quaking but true. Caleb and me. We were young, explorin'. Ain't shame in that. It's human. Caleb's turn came mid-afternoon. Sun beating relentless. Crowd a sea of faces, hostile, hopeful, hungry. Nathan squeezed his hand off stage. Hazel eyes fierce. You've got this. Burn 'em with light. He mounted steps, heart a jackhammer, scanning for Ezekiel's nod in the front row. Y'all know the stories, prodigal son, wild abandonment. But this ain't fable. It's flesh and bone. He held up the singed photo, Mama's face a beacon. My daddy left me for dead, 'cause I loved wrong. Church said it was sin. Neighbors torched our barn to scare us silent. But here's the truth. Love saved me. Nathan did. Pulled me from the brink. Showed me a man's heart can be home. Cheers erupted. Sporadic then swelling. Drowning Hayes' faction in the back. Their placards repent. Wilting. And greed? Reverend Hayes wants our land for his empire. Twist in scripture to justify it. We ain't sellin'. Not to hate. Not to hypocrisy. He gestured to the ashen horizon. From those ashes, we rise. Join us, or step aside. Applause thundered, cameras flashing. But climax crested vicious. Hayes surged forward, flanked by deacons. Mike seized. Lies. This boy tempts you to Sodom. Ezekiel barreled on stage, snatching the mic, voice booming. Enough. Hayes, I stood with you in pews, tithed my sweat. But you prey on pain? No more. He turned to the crowd. Bro. I was the sinner, hated my son for mirroring my own buried truths. Lost a love young, let it poison me. But Caleb forgave. Can y'all? Silence. Profound. Then, A farmer's wife stood. "Aye. My boy's queer, too. Hid it long enough." Others rose, ripples to waves, confessions cascading. Hayes paled, deacons fracturing, some crossing lines to Harlan's side. But betrayal's sting landed final. As the rally peaked, a deputy approached, warrant in hand. "Ezekiel Harlan, you're under arrest. Arson investigation. Evidence points to negligence on your part." Hayes's smirk from the wings confirmed it. Planted proof, twisted to frame the victim. Chaos reignited, shouts, shoves, Lila lawyering frantic on her phone. Caleb lunged for the deputy, Nathan hauling him back. "This is bullshit." Ezekiel submitted calm, cuffs clicking like punctuation. "For the best, son." Clears the air. Jail was a stone box in county seat. Visitation glass a cold divide. Ezekiel pressed palm to pain, voice muffled. "Fight smart, Cal. Expose them all. And tell your man. Thanks. For making you whole." Caleb's nod was steel. "We will, Daddy." Hold fast. Outside, Nathan paced the lot, rage a live coal. "This ends now. I got a buddy PI from the Corps. We'll dig dirt on Hayes till it buries him." The drive home was fury-fueled, hands clasped white-knuckled. Lila's research unearthed gold. Hayes's shell companies. Land deals shady as moonshine runs, even embezzled tithes. Tommy contributed logs, overheard plots. They struck back midnight oil style. Dossiers compiled, anonymous tips to press. By Monday, headlines screamed, "Holler hypocrite. Pastor pushes pride, pockets profits." Reporters swarmed the church. Hayes's empire crumbling like dry rot. Release came Wednesday, charges dropped. Evidence compromised. Ezekiel emerged gaunt but grinning, bear hug engulfing Caleb. "Told you, Harlan's rise." Reunion was revelry. Bonfire on the rebuilt barn's foundation, kin toasting with jars of shine. Nathan and Caleb danced slow in firelight, bodies sway close, whispers of forever. "Marry me," Nathan murmured. Ring pilfered from an antique shop, simple band, etched with pines. Caleb's yes was a vow, sealed with salt and starlight. But humanism's arc bends slow. Hayes fled town, disgraced, but scars lingered, trust fractured, whispers eternal. Yet in the mending, grace bloomed. Ezekiel apprenticed under Nathan, learning solar rigs, gruff jokes masking mentorship. Lila's cafe became haven, rainbow flag subtle but proud. One dusk, creekside, Caleb traced Nathan's jaw. "We destroyed the lies. Built something real." Nathan's kiss was answer, deep and unending. Love, after all, was the wild's truest gift, fierce, forgiving, forever. Months wove into the fabric of renewal, threads of ash and ambition tangling into tapestry. The Harlan Ranch stood reborn, barn rising phoenix-like from cinders, timbers hewn by communal hands, solar panels glinting like promises on the roof. Nathan's touch was everywhere. Efficient rainwater catchment, a greenhouse bursting with tomatoes and tender herbs, the land yielding not just crops but hope. Ezekiel, once a lone wolf, now bantered with crews, his laugh a rusty hinge oiled by purpose. "That boy's got more sense in his trigger finger than I had in a lifetime," he'd grunt, nodding at Nathan over fence-mending beers. Caleb thrived in the rhythm. Days split between ranch work and advocacy, speaking at county fairs, penning op-eds for the Herald that cut through complacency like a scythe. His voice, Once quavering whisper, now commanded rooms, weaving personal scar into communal shield. We ain't victims, he'd say, eyes locking with skeptics. We're survivors. And love? It's the strongest rain there is. Their wedding was holler simple. Peak autumn when leaves blazed crimson and gold. The creek a murmuring officiant. No church. No tuxes, just flannel finery. Boots polished. A arbor of wildflowers twisted by Lila's deft hands. Kin gathered sparse but sincere. Tommy with his family. Awkward bridges mending over shared pie. A smattering of Nathan's marine brothers. Flown in with stories taller than pines. Even a Whitaker cousin. Contrite. Bearing moonshine truce. Vows exchanged under that arbor were poetry pared to bone. Caleb's, you pulled me from the wild, showed me homes in your eyes. I'll walk every ridge with you, hand in unyielding hand. Nathan's, gravel rough, I fought wars, but you're my peace. Till the stars burn out, I'm yours. Rings slid on, simple gold warmed by hearth-forged love, sealed with a kiss that tasted of cider and certainty. Cheers erupted, jars clinking, Lila's whoop piercing the dusk. Honeymoon was the wild's embrace, no resorts, just a week's trek into Cumberland Gap, packs light, hearts heavy with bliss. They camped by waterfalls thundering like applause, bodies entwined in sleeping bags under meteor showers, conversations drifting like smoke, dreams of adopting, maybe a cabin addition for young Harlans to be. Our boy's gonna know freedom from day one, Nathan murmured one night, head on Caleb's chest, fingers tracing lazy infinities on skin. Back home, life layered deeper. Ezekiel's health faltered winter's grip, cough rattling like loose gravel, doc diagnosing the big C, stage creeping uninvited. The revelation landed soft but seismic. Family huddling in the kitchen over cocoa. Plans pragmatic treatments in Lexington. Fundraisers laced with love. Ain't done ranchin' yet, Ezekiel rasped. But his eyes, meeting Caleb's, held gratitude unspoken. You gave me time, son. Real time. Nathan shouldered the load seamless, drives to chemo. Soup simmered slow. Quiet nights when Ezekiel unburdened ghosts long chained. You ever think of kids? The old man asked one eve. For drip beeping sentinel. Nathan chuckled soft. Yeah. With Cal. The world's kinder for it. Spring bloomed defiant. Ezekiel rallying enough for a final harvest. Hands in soil a sacrament. But summer's heat wave claimed him. Peaceful. Porch rocker creaking to a halt. Mama's quilt tucked gentle. The funeral was Harlan huge, procession snaking ridges. Eulogies fierce with fondness. Reverend Tate, Hayes's successor, spoke of redemption's arc. But Caleb's words closed it. Daddy broke us, but we mended stronger. He taught me hate's a chain, love's the key. Rest easy, Pa. You're free. Grief was a tide, ebbing to hollows then surging wild. Nathan anchored, walks in the woods where words failed, bodies speaking volumes, love making slow, reverent, a balm for the bereft. Lila stepped up, co-managing the ranch, her belly swelling with news. A niece or nephew, life insisting. One golden October afternoon, a letter arrived, postmark Nashville. Hayes's scrawl. Forgive an old fool, cancer's got me, too. Regrets heavier than sin. Enclosed, deeds. Signed over, church land returned. A restitution quiet as dawn. Caleb read at creekside. Nathan's chin on shoulder. What now? Burn it or build on it? but they framed it instead. Attic-bound relic. Years unfurled like river bends. The ranch evolved. Ecotourism cabins drawing city folk hungry for authenticity. Pride flags fluttering beside American ones. Caleb's book, Wild Redemption. A holler gaze reckoning, hit shelves modest, but ripples reached far, speaking tours threading the nation. Nathan, ever the quiet force, taught survival workshops, his calm a counterpoint to Caleb's fire. Their son arrived spring 32, adopted from a foster fray, little Eli, dark curls and hazel mischief, named for the wild that birthed them. Baptism by creek splash, family circle wide. You're safe here, kiddo, Caleb whispered nights, rocking him as stars wheeled. Nathan's lullabies, off-key marine tunes, coaxed giggles. Betrayals faded to footnotes, conflicts to campfire tales. The holler healed, grudging then genuine rainbow stickers on truck bumpers, church potlucks with two-dad invites. Humanism's quiet win. Not utopia, but progress, one mended fence at a time. Dusk one eve, porch swing creaking familiar, Eli asleep between them, Caleb leaned into Nathan. We made it. Nathan's arm tightened, kiss to temple. We did. And damn if it ain't beautiful. The wild whispered approval. Wind through pines a eternal hook. Survival, love, return. In America's heartland, where lies once reigned, truth bloomed unbroken, a legacy of fire-forged grace.